I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Ben Cardin responded to the bombshell leak of a Supreme Court opinion on the Senate floor Wednesday. The leaked decision of Justice Samuel Alito revealed that Roe v. Wade could be overturned. The Maryland senator called on lawmakers to pass the Women's Protection Act. If passed, the act would codify federal abortion rights into law. Take a listen to more from Cardin.
Mr. President, I have taken this time to talk about National Small Business Week, but the events of the last 48 hours, I need to comment on the Justice Alito draft opinion that, if it were adopted by the Supreme Court, would overturn Roe v. Wade. I find this draft opinion to be outrageous. It puts the health, well-being, and constitutional rights of women across the nation in great jeopardy, particularly those low-income women. 36 million women of reproductive age would be at risk if the Alito opinion became the ruling of the Supreme Court. We look to our courts to protect and expand our constitutional protections, not to contract and weaken the constitutional protections, reversing nearly 50 years of legal precedent of Roe v. Wade. What we need to do is to make sure that this body does everything we can to protect women's rights and to protect their health care right to make their own decision. I am pleased that 16 states, including the District of Columbia, have taken action to protect women's rights, including my own state of Maryland, but we need to do more. We need to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. I'm a co-sponsor of that, proud to be a co-sponsor of it, which would codify Roe v. Wade, protect reproductive rights for women. I hope we'll have the opportunity to do that, and I think we all recognize that we have a responsibility to act before the Supreme Court makes its ruling that could jeopardize the constitutional rights. Now, Mr. President, I do want to speak about National Small Business Week, which is this week, May 1st through the 7th. I have the honor of chairing the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee here in the United States Senate, and I had the opportunity as chair to talk about small businesses 52 weeks a year and to brag about what small businesses are doing. This week gives us the opportunity to highlight for every American the incredible contribution small businesses make to our economy. National Small Business Week is an annual reminder of how important small businesses are to the success of America. Small businesses are the lifeblood of our national economy and our local communities. There are more than 32 million small businesses across the nation, and they support more than 61 million jobs. As Congress works to address the myriad of challenges facing our country, from climate change to foreign conflicts, the issues facing small business owners can be drowned out. That's why I asked to be a member of the Small Business Committee when I first entered the United States Senate in 2007. The committee is one of the smaller committees in terms of resources and staff, but I know that it was going to be a place where I could support entrepreneurs, those in my home state of Maryland and nationwide, who are focused on creating the companies, products, services, and technologies of the future. That's where job growth will take place in this country. More jobs are created through small business than through larger companies. That's where innovation takes place in this country, where we find ways to deal with challenges, as we saw during COVID-19. But it's also where small businesses do not have the same resiliency to deal with downturns in our economy. And that's why it was so important for us to act in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. 2 years ago, as our nation faced the threat of a once-in-a-century global pandemic, supporting our small business owners was one of my top priorities. And I'll always be proud of the swift, bipartisan action that this body took to ensure that our vibrant small business sector would not be the casualty of the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Congress has created several new programs to support small businesses, including the Paycheck Protection Program that was there to protect the workforce in small business, the EIDL Advanced Grant Program, which provided some capital for small businesses during the pandemic and provided through its loan program longer-term capital that was needed during this period of time. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program that dealt with businesses that were basically ordered to close during the pandemic because of the public health risks. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund that was aimed at an industry that was so badly devastated as a result of COVID-19 when people would not go out to restaurants, and several other initiatives that we passed during that period of time. We have appropriated more than $1 trillion to the Small Business Administration to fund these initiatives and others, and we have been critical. It's been critical to the survival of small businesses and now to our own economic recovery. Several independent studies have confirmed that the SBA's implementation of these programs was largely successful and improved over time, especially in terms of equity, reaching the underserved communities. The improvement is the result of thoughtful policies Congress has implemented, as well as the Biden administration's efforts to invest in underserved entrepreneurs. Americans registered a record-setting 5.4 million new small businesses this last year, which was 1 million increase over the prior record of 4.4 million. So we are responding. The small business community is vibrant. Even better, this increase is occurring in some of our most underserved communities, with minorities, specifically minority women, driving entrepreneurial surge. So this year's theme for the National Small Business Week, Building a Better America Through Entrepreneurship, could not be more fitting, and it should serve as a clarion call for every member of Congress. We simply cannot let this opportunity pass us by. Instead, we in Congress must tap into and bolster the entrepreneurial spirit that is sweeping our nation to build a fairer and more just economy for all. The good news, we already know how we can do this because that's what we did during the pandemic. Several independent studies have confirmed that small business relief programs we created over the past 2 years improved over time. The improvement was the result of policies, many of which were bipartisan, that directly address the structural barriers that make it more difficult for women, minorities, and other underserved entrepreneurs to start and grow successful businesses. In the years ahead, Congress must leverage the inroads that the SBA has made into these previously underserved communities so that critical services and business loan products can be better reach entrepreneurs who need them the most. The most immediate action we can take is to replenish the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. That is a matter of basic fairness. There are still more than 177,000 outstanding applications for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. These are restaurants that qualified for the relief, but because there was not enough funds in the program appropriated by Congress, and because of the original confusion on application priorities, they were not able to get the funds, even though they were eligible and they needed the funds. In some states, as many as 6 in 10 requests for grants remain unmet. So Congress cannot mistake the hopeful indicators of a recovery for a sign that restaurants and bars are back to where they were prior to the pandemic. They are not. Many bars and restaurants are still months behind in rent and other bills. They also must deal with increased supply costs as a result of supply chain issues and labor costs. They still need our support. The need is still there, and fairness requires us to act. I want to thank Senator Wicker for working with me to introduce bipartisan legislation that will replenish this critical program and provide support to other hard-hit industries. In the longer term, there are 3 policies that Congress should enact to better support the surge of interest in entrepreneurship and make our economy more diverse and resilient in the future. First, Congress should create a direct lending program at the SBA that will allow for another avenue for access to capital, filling the current gaps in our financial ecosystem. A reimagined direct lending program would allow entrepreneurs to apply directly to the SBA or through community lenders for small federal loans. We know that many underserved entrepreneurs are discouraged even from applying for a business loan because of the high rates of rejection. Commercial banks tend to deal with their existing customers. They also tend to want larger loans or larger of the small businesses, not the smaller, the startups of the small businesses. A direct lending program from the SBA could help. Second, Congress should codify the Community Advantage Loan Program. The loan program is particularly successful in getting capital to underserved entrepreneurs. We have a track record under the Community Advantage Program. It works. It reaches those communities that have been left out in the past. I am grateful to the Biden administration's recent announcement that it will extend the program for 2 years and implement changes to make the program more helpful to underserved small businesses. For example, the administration will increase the maximum loan size and expand the number of lenders in the program to provide loans to more underserved entrepreneurs. And third, Congress should give SBA the tools and resources to nurture the next generation of entrepreneurs by creating a network of incubators and accelerators on the campuses of our nation's historically black colleges and universities, minority-serving institutions, and community colleges. In Maryland, our state HBCUs and community colleges play a key role in entrepreneurial ecosystem. They are resource partners for the SBA. They host business incubators and accelerators, and they leverage their relationship with the underserved communities to lift up the entrepreneurs in those communities. We need to do the same on a national scale and support our resource partners. These are common sense policies that will unlock the growth potential of our nation's entrepreneurs and help us to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic in a stronger, fairer way. So as we celebrate National Small Business Week, let us also double down on the investments we have made in our entrepreneurs over the past 2 years. Let us once again put partisanship aside to pass thoughtful legislation that addresses the root causes of the issues our nation's entrepreneurs face on a daily basis. We can do this. During this week, let us rededicate ourselves to help America's small businesses, help fairness and opportunity in this country, and help our economy grow even stronger. With that, Mr. President, I would suggest the absence of a quorum.